What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. My name's Lewis, also known as MrCameraJunkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. Welcome once again to the live stream. It's Saturday night and we're doing it all over again. I'm super excited because we have quite a few people in here, people that I haven't seen before, one of them being Heather Ramirez. Let me see. So I appreciate you stopping by, Tom. We have Kevin, Kombucha, I saw the message, so welcome to the Camera Junkie crew officially. And we have Scott Rogers as well, saying hello to everyone. And Kali, just mixing up the names. Kali, how are you doing, Kali? And welcome everybody yet to another live stream. I'm super excited. I've had an incredible week this week. This has probably been the most action-packed week that I've had in my content creation journey here on YouTube, and I wanted to start by talking about it. This week, so much was packed into this week that I can't even remember what happened last week. Literally, it started with Sunday, because after my Saturday night live streams, my Sunday pretty much looks like I start my day off with a live stream on Professor Nez. I am a moderator in his live stream as well, so he's got an awesome live stream at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, which is I believe 12:30 over here. No, he's 9:30 over there. To check it out. So yeah, 12:30 over here. So I start kind of my morning, even though I sleep in a little bit, with Professor Nez. And by the time that I'm done with my day, I usually end up on, not Nick. Wow, I'm running a blank. D Niman's live stream. I've had so much and I'm running it all together right now. So I'm just trying to keep it all together. So D Niman always has a live stream on Sunday nights, and which is kind of like the end, or we would say the start of my week. So starting off my week, D Niman actually decided to have guests on his show, and I was fortunate enough to be a participant in that show and was able to show my appreciation to D and also to Luria Petrucci, which was something that I didn't think would have been happening so soon, seeming that I just started this around 7 months ago, coming from like December, and so much that has happened since then. So that was something that had me in a kind of like pinch myself moment, and everything just continued from there. For those of you who don't know, I've been starting to work with Doc Rock, so I was doing my first video edit with him. Then on top of that as well, we had the fact that I did a Wednesday night live stream interview, which was my second interview, and the live stream was on Alicia Way's channel. We ran that one a little bit long, and it was so much fun. The live stream, we did it for like 2 hours, and it just felt so good to be able to collaborate with another content creator. Even though I had met Alicia a couple of weeks before when he was down here in South Beach, it was just such an awesome experience for me. So that took the week's experience to another high. The day right after that, I was lucky enough to do a live stream with Sammy Superstar and talk about this same subject, the ZV-E10, because it was released on Tuesday. Yeah, you see, I even missed that. That's what I did on Tuesday. Tuesday, the ZV-E10 camera was released, and at 10 a.m. I was doing a impromptu live stream to do a live reaction for that. That live reaction actually happened to be my 100th piece of content on my channel. The same day, I was able to reach the 700 subscriber number, or I think that was the day after with Alicia. So I made 100 pieces of content on this channel, which is a personal milestone, not something that has to do with the metrics, that has to do with subscribers, because those aren't things that I'm in control of. But how much content, how much effort I put into it definitely makes all the difference. Professor Nez, I was just talking about you and being that you're like my Sunday routine, being that 12:30 Eastern time. It's hands down that I'm in your live stream. So getting back to it. So now it's come full circle where I'm already on Sammy's stream and the week continues to go. And after Sammy's stream, I was also contacted by Jared Spink. And he asked me to be on his Hive podcast, which is another personal milestone of my own, because it started with Alicia Way's show, which is Creators on the Come Up. And I remember, Tom being his first guest on that show. And when he first started, making it, I just made it like my own personal goal as well, that I was like, you know what, I can't wait for the day. I just kind of said it like that. I didn't really put anything out there except that I can't wait for the day that I get asked to be on that show. So for that to have happened this week, for Jared Spink, which was also another one that I was like, I can't wait to be asked on that show, because it's personal goals. It's like I said, these are the things that are in my control. And when he reached out to me, I had goosebumps. I was just like, I'm so honored to have that, to be privileged enough to be asked to be on that podcast, seeming that that's also a podcast that I listen to. And I've been amazed by the content that he's been able to make and the people that he's been able to interview, and to be held in that regard and to be held into that class of content creators is so special to me that I can't stop smiling. And even just today, I'm fortunate enough to be gonna be one of the newest members to the Stream Deck family, because I just got an order for my new Stream Deck that's gonna be coming soon. So it's just, all of that happened in a matter of 5 or 6 days, and I'm still like exhausted, excited, and amazed. I've just been blown away. Professor Ness, the elbow cough. Oh man, and this is awesome. And the fact that I have so many of you right now in the chat, and able to share this with you guys, to share my happiness about my personal journey this week, it just means the world to me, because a lot of you are part of my journey. And it's so crazy, because I was speaking to Alicio after we finished the show, and I told him that my next goal is to go to the People of Video conference in Albany, because that's the conference that I want to go to. And on top of now working with Doc Rock, I look at the cast of people that are going to be at that event, and I told Alicio, it's almost as if that event was catered for me, because even to the extent, because all the guest speakers is like that I've been personally in contact with, like Tom, Heather, Professor Nez, Doc Rock, and I haven't met him either, but because I'm so new to my content creation journey, that when I started taking things seriously in December, I did my 30 days of live streaming. As soon as I slowed that down to once a week, it gave me more time to expand in the communities. And that's when I found Pat Flynn, and I became a member of Pat Flynn's daily live stream that he was hosting, like at noon, that he did 365 days consecutively of live streaming, which put my 30 days to shame. But it wasn't that. It was the fact that I wish I would have found him sooner. And it was such an amazing experience that I was able to participate in those live streams for, I believe, just like the last 2 months before he reached the full year. that I was also able to establish like a small relationship with Pat Flynn, that he also knows my name through my experiences and my participation in his live streams. And to have him be a guest speaker as well at this People of Video conference is just, I would like to say it's a coincidence, but I'd be lying, because it's not a coincidence that all the people that I've been personally close to in communication with in these past 7 months all are going to be at this one conference. So my last couple of live streams, the last couple of weeks, I have mentioned the fact that a lot of us take time for granted, and I wasn't going to do that. So I was going to do everything that I could to make sure that I was present in Albany, and it's like the stars are aligning, and I'm already making plans to make my way there. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. For that has been my week. It has been so much. I'm like excited. Excuse me. It's almost like right now, like the adrenaline that's running through me is like palpable, because it's almost like I can feel like if there's a nervousness in my voice, yet I'm not nervous. It's almost like the excitement, the adrenaline is that much. But let me get back to the chat here. So Callie says, because I'm dope. Kevin says, big congratulations for an amazing week. Keep the ball rolling. You have been doing the work and it shows. Yeah, man. Look, it actually started even. Oh, look, another thing. Talking about this. Because this is. It started Monday because I was also fortunate enough to be mentioned in the Enthusiasm Project podcast. Tom took a small section to talk about me and my experience in our relationship, our friendship, and that means so much to me as well. That's actually, so it was D Niman, Tom Buck, Sony Livestream, Alicia Way, Sammy Superstar, Peter Gregg on Friday, and now we're here. It's just been a whirlwind, and it's just been awesome. Professor Ness says, yes, I made it. I'm very curious about this camera. Seems like another no-brainer since I had the ZV-1. Yeah, now that I finished all my personal stuff, let's get to the camera stuff. Okay, so you've been busy. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. Says congrats, 100 and 700. Yeah, the 100, believe it or not, is kind of the bigger one for me. I'm amazed and in awe by 700 CameraJunkie members, and I know that the inevitability of that number growing, that's just what it is. It's inevitable. But just as long as I continue putting in the number ahead of that subscriber number, just as long as I continue to put in the work. And the thing is, I don't see a problem with it because I'm having way too much fun. Says almost at 1,000 subs, man. You got this, man. I actually was so ecstatic, and I still, because it wasn't that long ago, remember when I got 100 subscribers, and that I was so ecstatic to be able to get my channel URL so that nobody else could like take MrCameraJunkie. And I still try to keep myself in that regard, that I'm like, if I make a video and 100 people see it, at least it's 100 people that I knew that I was able to help. And that's all I need. And when I started changing things on my channel, I made a video, I believe it was released right around Christmas. Could have been the day after. It could have been like the 26th. I know it was in December. It was in the middle of me doing the live streaming streak. And that video is close to 9,000 views right now. that's just... So when I still think that 100 is such an amazing mark for my channel to reach of viewers, to have a video, and right now I think there's like 3 of them that started to take off in the, I would say, in the tutorial base, you know, about education about cameras. But still, the fact that my small little camera junkie family here, and that I had the ability to make a video that's within the year, I already know it's gonna have over 10,000 views. And I thank every single person that has helped me to get here, and I'm so glad that so many of you are here. Like, look at this. Yo, 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 MrCameraJunkie, the greatest mod on the planet, and a genuine soul. Man, you guys are awesome. Congrats on 100 and 700. Said we got to have lunch with Jared. Oh, it says we got to have lunch with Jared today. It was awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, man. When Jared asked me, I was like, really? Like, oh, it's just, I'm just so in awe. It says Alicio is awesome. Man, I had so much fun on Alicio's show. That was amazing. It says, congratulations, man. Visualize and go after it. It will happen. Long game always. Absolutely. There we have the elbow coughs. Look at who's here. Ricky. Ricky made it, man. What's up? So I came in for the first thing I hear is that you're going to be at the Hive podcast. Congratulations, Lewis. Welcome to the Hive family. Hey, man, I'm so excited. We're setting it up for next month. So we're going to be recording next month in August. We're just going to be setting up a date. I'm just so excited. It was just like Thursday that we started to talk about setting things up, and just look, it says, haha, what a fun week. Fun? Listen, I beyond fun and beyond exhausting. Like right now, I am really running on adrenaline. I wanted so bad to take a nap before I did this live stream. But to be honest, I'm so tired, right? That I didn't trust myself to actually go to sleep and wake up to make the live stream. I think I would have just stayed asleep all through the night because that's how I physically feel. But at the same time, I'm like, I want to jump out of my skin. Says Jared, and you are going to make fantastic episode. Thank you, man. He says, boom, you need to be there. Oh no, I'm going to be there. I'm already, like I said, I'm not going to take time for granted, and I'm not going to waste time. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to say, hey, you know what? I'll make it next year. No. I'm making this opportunity, and I'm making it happen now. Okay, so Ricky's saying hi to Tom and Heather. He says, whoa, Lewis is in the 700s. I love to see it. Yeah, I believe so. He's right at the top. He's Pat Flynn is going to be at People of Video. Absolutely. Are you still lighting with the homemade diffuser? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Look, it's going to get a little blown out, but just so you can see. Absolutely. You know what? I was thinking about that, Keith. And thanks for stopping by, bro, man. I appreciate you. And I really do appreciate you more than you even know. More than you even know, sir. So, but yes, my homemade diffuser. What I was thinking about is that I'm going to make maybe a little video of how I made it with a small diagram that you can download as like maybe a PDF or something that you could print so that you can just use a printer and it gives you the exact measurements so that you can cut out the foam pieces to reproduce what I've made. That's the easiest thing that I've been able to conjure up in my mind of how I would be able to, like, I would obviously put a video of how I did it, but then also the schematics on so that you can do it yourself. It says vibes create more vibes. Lewis, all of the simple, let me see, that's a really, really close to me. I made this really big and now it's harder to read. All of this is simply accumulation of all the hard vibes that you've been putting in for so long. Keep it going, brother. Thank you, man. Kombucha saying, Keith, I'm on mobile, so I can't at nobody. Says, what up, the combos? There's so much. Oh, I don't want to get too lost in the comments before I start talking, because I know this is gonna be a while. Says, well said, Filmtopia. I agree 100%. I love how excited you are. It makes me so happy. Tom's giving me the happy hands. Hey folks, Heather Ramirez, sis. That thing might be as well sold in stores. What, my softbox? You think so? I don't even know, man. I can put that together, but I just, like I said, I made it so that people can make it themselves. You know, it's like necessity is the mother of all invention. So I needed to get better lighting, and I didn't have the space for a softbox, because like if this is the camera, I'm touching the wall right here. Like, just, I would say how Tom would say, maybe two fistons from the camera to the wall. That's about it. About that much space. That's an actual measurement of length. It's official. Check wiki. Spoke Audio, Lewis. How you doing, Robert? Welcome. See, this is what I love about YouTube. Blank Boulevard. Hey, man, long time. Thanks for stopping by. So Robert saying congratulations. Kim's all booed up. Yes, congratulations, Kim. And nice to have you back. Yeah, I know you took your time, but we're so happy to have you back in the community. Says you keep going, man. Long game. You got this. Oh man, the comment. Like, I just realized how far back I'm in the comments. I can just do comments today. Okay, Kombucha. Just type in the name and it's it. It will tag them. It won't pop up for you, but click like on desktop. Yeah, but what I've learned on mobile is that you still have to spell out the whole thing. It doesn't do the auto finish for you, which makes all the difference so that you don't mess up the name. You see, it says long time no see. I'm doing good, man. How are you, sir? He says, wow, congratulations, man. I guess we're still talking about that. Said Kevin Cox, I did not know that. Oh, well, she got it right because she did Kevin. Your genuine happy energy right now looks like the manifestation of the enthusiasm. Look, I can't even talk. The manifestation of the enthusiasm project. Coincidence? I think not. You're so right, Ricky, man. And look, Heather says truth. He says my success is very well earned. It's just the beginning, you know. I said on Alicio's podcast that what has succumbed from YouTube has already exceeded any expectation that I could have ever had. Just, it has. So all of this is bonus. There's no way for me to not be smiling, because I can't wait to see what else is going to happen by the time that I get to December and say that this is the accumulation of a year of me putting in hard work on this platform. And I don't have to wait. Like, even if nothing else were to happen, I am so ecstatic with what has already happened to this point that it's all been worth it, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Says Kombucha, just learned that not too long ago myself. I usually listen on mobile from work, and I thought I could never tag anyone, and someone shared it with me, just passing on the info onward. Awesome. Says your servicing increased your subs, bro. You've been helping many people from the sidelines. Every time I do face recognition on my Sony, I think of Lewis. Awesome, man. Oh man, I'm getting oh man, I'm getting messages everywhere right now. I forgot to turn off the iPad. Sorry if you guys heard that. Okay. Here we go. I guess now's a good time to add to your awesome streak of awesomeness. I was literally typing up my invitation for you to join me as a guest appearance on my new live show. Damn, Ricky, man, you're gonna make me cry up in here, bro. Excuse me, guys. Damn, Ricky, you got me, man. Oh. You guys are so awesome. You guys are so freaking awesome. Absolutely, Ricky. Anything, man. Anything. Absolutely. Anything you need. That's probably the message that I just got. Thank you. I want to thank every single one of you. Anyone who's ever seen me. I want to thank you. Because you are helping me. You are allowing me to pursue my passion. And I can't tell you how grateful, how indebted I am to this amazing community that has opened their arms to me. I can talk, but I'm like without words. So thank you. Thank you. He says that thing is legit. Real talk. You made it work. Says Filmtopia. Yeah. I'll be in Instagram DMs. Check them later. I will, Ricky. I will. Hey, Sammy. Welcome, sir. Thank you. I want to thank you again. It was so awesome to be on your show on Thursday. It was so much fun. Anytime you want to do it again, just let me know. So, confession, Lewis, you got to change up the live, bro. You making us all mushy and huggy and sensitive and stuff. We all want to hug each other and sit by the fire and roast marshmallows. And that was before Ricky got me. That message came in before Ricky got me, talking about all mushy. You guys are making me mushy. He says Lewis is putting a Diana Gladney. Absolutely. I'm so far behind in the comments. Sammy saying hi to Heather, to Keith. They're all saying hi to each other. It says shots fired. Remember, Diana's gonna behave Diana's comments, or we get the beating. He says, "Dang it, Lewis, you're about to make us cry." So, like I said, this is me catching to those messages. You guys got me, man. He says the notifications bell will make sense right now. Yep. You guys are awesome. He says, yes, yeah, you said it, sir. You got me. You guys got me, man. Oh, man. Oh, man is right. 100%. I need you on the Enthusiasm Project too. You have... Come on, guys. Give me a break. Oh my God, this is a sensory overload right now. Oh my God. Keith, I was gonna ask you if it was okay to mention this, but I'm going to, because obviously, look at this. Like, I didn't want to like boast or anything, but Keith was so gracious enough that I reached out to him to purchase a stream deck from him that I believe he had used, and I wanted to get one, so I reached out to him, and he was so gracious that he just bought me one. He ordered one for me, and I was gonna ask you if it was okay to talk about it, because I'm so grateful for it. And that's all part of what's going on right now. And I'm like, excuse me, I gotta clean my face. And now Tom is like, oh man, you guys are awesome. Says, I can't. I'm gonna shed a tear. Said, all good, bro. Look at this. I love you. We love you, Lewis. I love you guys so much. So much. I'm just amazing to see you be so open, so vulnerable. The true connections with your peeps and your CJC. I'm having trouble talking right now, guys. Just bear with me. I'm gonna get through them. It says you're such a great person and content creator. We love you, dude. You make us all better. So incredible to know you, man. I can't wait. I'm shedding a tear with you, bro. How you doing, Paul? I know it's John. Right now I'm a little out of sorts, but how you doing, sir? Welcome. Okay, so we just saying hi to each other. Okay, maybe this will let me catch my breath. I can't wait till he sees Tom's comment. That's that one, right? Oh man. I saw it, Ricky. You saw my reaction already. You guys are so awesome. Look at this. I do too, Tom. I love everything about this. That's why I've been doing it. This is 35 consecutive weeks of me doing something that I absolutely love. And just by doing it, I've had such an amazing response by such amazing people that I am so taken back. So there it is, Filmtopia. I wish you could see us watching you. I wish, yeah. But that's why I said I can't wait to get to people of video to actually see this. Like, it goes, let's go, vibes on vibes. I think I'm getting close to the end. Oh, good. I consider this family here. Thank you, sir. And that's why I wanted to ask you, but to have you here right now, there's no better way for me to thank you, because I was so taken back. And there was somebody who was speaking about it earlier today, and I think it was Doc, in the drop squad class, that we need to be open sometimes to the blessings, and that when the overflow does overflow, is going to pour into the people that are closest to you. So I just want to thank you again for blessing me with some of your overflow. Unbelievably happy to be here and catch this live. This is Kevin saying that. He say, wow, catching up on the conversation, you deserve it all. Says, your spirit bro couldn't sell you one. Just do a live on it. Your spirit bro couldn't sell you one. Just do a live on it. Absolutely. Part of this one, and I'll make sure to do another one when I get it, Says, Lewis, you're really inspiring to me, and get out from behind the camera and actually do it myself. I got to get over that funk I put myself in. Well, anything that you need as well, man. I'm happy to help. One thing is that I've been able to do is I had mentioned it I mentioned it somewhere this week. I don't remember exactly where, because right now it's all a blur, but that I started in like elementary school, morning announcements. So I guess the fear that a lot of people have about getting in front of the camera, I was more accustomed to it because I grew up with that, and then it was my passion, and it was only until life got in the way that I veered away from it. And now that I'm back into this space, into this creative space, it's where I should have been all along. But I can't say anything, because I also feel that my journey was exactly the way it should have been, because that's what led me to being here right now. with all of you amazing people. So thank you. And I think that's it right now. So now, for all of you who are interested, to catch my breath, let's talk about the new ZV-E10 camera. Now, I've talked about this on Sammy's live stream and a couple of other places this week. This camera, for those of you who are interested, is, I think, a revolutionary camera that's going to make a lot of waves everywhere. The thing is that there's a lot of people who are thinking, who is this camera for? And I think the biggest demographic that this camera is actually going to cater to is what we consider Twitch streamers, people who are familiar with, their computer equipment, are technically savvy, but are not photographers. And the reason why I say this as well is that you can go ahead and take a look at the video that Sony released themselves about this camera. And I sat there, I did a live reaction on Tuesday, and I sat there and I was like, they gave 0 specifications of what this camera really does. They talked about how it was used instead of what it has inside. And the functionality of the autofocus features instead of like the differences between this and other models, because the people that they're trying to market this camera to are people who are going to majorly use it in a plug-and-play situation. The one negative thing that I've heard, and I haven't been able to confirm, I've already spoken to Doc Rock and Diana Gladney and a couple of other people who have pre-ordered this camera, so as soon as they get it in their hands, I will be able to confirm this information, is the fact that it's supposedly a downgraded USB signal, that instead of getting a 4K signal out of the camera or even getting a 1080p, they're downgrading the signal that's coming out of the USB-C to 720. The reason why I think, if this is true, that this is what's going to happen, is for the reason that whenever I've connected my Sony cameras through the USB, there has been noticeable latency. And for me to get the best image from my cameras, I noticed that for myself, I had to connect it with a video capture card using the HDMI output. Now, you can use the USB to power up the cameras and keep them powered on indefinitely for live streams. But to get the signal that you want, it struggles when it's just USB. So now, the reason, if that were to be true, that I think that they did that is to make sure that they have ample bandwidth so that maybe they can reach a certain amount of frames per second in the video feed and have smooth video playback, instead of just having it trying to cram all this data through a small cable that's really not capable to handle that type of bandwidth. So if that were to be true, I think that would be the only hindrance. But the hindrance that would cause of it being less than full high definition is only to like some of us who would want that aspect. Now, if that's something that you're looking for, I would also recommend for you to stay with a similar type camera if you already have it. Now, if you don't own a camera and you're looking to start out in your content creation journey, that's where I think this camera is perfect. I had mentioned to Sammy earlier that for me, I have the A6100. There really isn't any reason for me to go ahead and purchase this camera, for the reason that there is no real benefit for me in my use case. This camera does everything that I needed to do, plus I already adapted to the camera. So now I have a video capture card. I have the USB micro connection. I have everything that I need, the dummy battery setup, everything so that I can run a successful live stream. But if you don't have all this stuff and you don't know that you need it to run a live stream, that's who excuse me, that's who this camera caters to the person who says, I want a camera for my live streams to get good video. And with the technology of USB-C, you're going to have the ability, even if it's at 720p, to plug in one cable to your computer, and that's it. So it's officially going to be converting this camera to a webcam if that's what you're going to buy it for. And that one cable, USB-C, is going to have enough bandwidth for the 720p and to power up the camera at the same time without having the need to have a separate external capture card or any software to communicate to the camera. For this reason is why I think that a lot of people who have been reviewing this camera really missed the mark on who it was for, because the ease of use of this camera is through the roof. Now, for me personally, I like a viewfinder. I'm a photographer, so I will be using a viewfinder. If a camera doesn't have one, that's really tough for me to actually invest in that camera. But the majority of the people who are going to be looking into this camera, and even if they decide to use it for photography, are going to be coming from something like this. And this gives them the ability to frame the entire shot by looking at the back of the LCD, not through the viewfinder. So me, in the photography side, the viewfinder is very important for me, but for the new age photographer, not even. You know, I even wrote a comment to Manny Ortiz on one of his latest videos because he surprised me that he was using the viewfinder. I was like, whoa, because he was famously known for, you know, like using the camera through the LCD, and you know, and he's a well-established photographer. So to each his own when it comes to the style, and it's just a preference. But like I said, who this camera is catering to, the demographic, is to people who are just starting in content creation. There's a lot of people who want to upgrade from a webcam that are on Twitch right now and have always been looking for the easiest, highest quality camera. And I think that's where this camera sits. On top of that, it's one of the more inexpensive entry-level cameras, and you're going to get the benefits that all, like, and I really mean all, these beauty bloggers are going to eat this camera up. I can't tell you how many beauty bloggers bought the ZV-1 just because of the beauty mode and the way that it enhances skin. This has that same feature, but with even higher quality glass. Hands down, everyone's going to, you know, fall in love with this camera, and the fact that it has that, like, you know, focus feature mode with Sony's incredible autofocus. They're not going to have to worry about being out of focus or that the camera's not going to focus on the product when they want to talk about it. These are all of the things that are catering to that demographic. And this camera, in all sincerity, is not designed for photographers. It's not. And that's where I would be like taken back, saying like, it's not for me. And I understand that. But I also understand that who this camera is for. So when people ask me, do you think Sony hit or miss? I think they hit a grand slam with this camera. I just do. I don't see the flaws in it. And the thing that really just like concrete cemented that idea in my mind was when I was, you know, watching Matty Apoya's video, and he compared that this camera with lens was lighter than just his lens. And because it was so light and so easy and so inexpensive and convenient, he found himself shooting more video than he would have if he was using his full-size A7S III rig. So if it takes someone like even Matty Apoya that is hard up on the best picture quality, is still able to use this camera and be happy with its quality, and even happier with the functionality of it, I said, that's where you have the winner, like right there. Because I go back to the old saying that the best camera is the one that you have with you at all times. And that makes a difference, because he even gave that camera to his son. Because I also think that not only of the ease of use, but the price tag, you know, if Kai were to drop a $7,000 camera, makes a huge difference if you knock off a zero off of that and he's like, oh, he dropped a $700 camera. It's a huge, huge difference. So those are my thoughts on the Sony ZV-E10, who this camera is for. Now, when it comes to all the specifications, it is pretty much a hybrid of the ZV-1 and the A6100. The one thing that I was hoping that this camera would have brought from the ZV line was the extremely high frame rates in the slow motion. Now, it does have the S&Q, which stands for slow and quick, and it will do up to 120 frames per second in slow motion high definition with audio. And so does the A6100, because that's where that is more attuned to it because of the APS-C sensor. The 240 frames a second that the ZV-1 does, and also the 900 and I believe 60 frames a second, can only be accomplished because the ZV-1 has a dual stacked sensor, and this dual stacked sensor is actually more like the A9 type sensor that allows, you know, up to 22 frames per second in photography shooting. So that stack sensor has such a high readout that it allows very high frame rates. And the fact that the 1-inch sensor will always allow faster frame rates than a full frame sensor, because of that faster readout, it has less like actual sensor to retrieve information. That's what allows that super high frame rate, because even the full frame dual stacked sensors, the A9 can't reach 240 frames per second. So I was keeping my fingers crossed and hoping, because the rumors were that it was going to be like a $900 camera. And I said, if this is a $900 camera with 960 frames slow motion with prime lenses, I go, this is going to be the killer of all cameras. Well, that wasn't a wish that I got. Unfortunately, it's still using the same exact sensor, which that sensor does not have the capability to read out as much information as the dual stack sensors do. And being a larger size on APS-C also gives it another hindrance. So it stays stuck at 120 frames, but it is the latest version of the 120 frames from Sony, and it is surprisingly good. I've used it myself on the A6100 and have had no problems with the quality of the image. So that's pretty much it. It doesn't have a viewfinder, but I think that's going to only increase the battery life and the small form factor, the things that they removed, and yeah, no IBIS. All of these things are only going to increase the battery life. And with the latest version of the Bion's X processor as well, to actually maximize battery life, it's almost like this is kind of like an M1 version of their old Sony cameras. So it's going to maximize the voltage. It has less components to actually drain. It says that it does 80 minutes on a single battery, which is the NPFW50 batteries. Yeah, I think Sony listened to the content creator, what they wanted, and they came out with a camera. The last thing, which I had also mentioned to Sammy's show, Sony had made the ZV-1 and called it the vlogger's camera. The vloggers that actually bought it said that the 24mm equivalent lens wasn't wide enough. And that was probably the biggest complaint. But Sony was thinking we kept it pocketable. The people who complained then decided to buy a Ulanzi lens adapter and adds so much girth to the lens that even when it was retracted, it was still so much thicker, that I think Sony said, if they're willing to add a piece of glass that was totally not designed for our camera in front of it just to get those extra millimeters, why don't we just create it, this same camera basically, in the E mount and sell our 10 to 18, which gives you a 15 millimeter equivalent, which is exactly what they did. It adds the extra girth to the camera. If you still want something compact, you can use the kit lens, which is retractable. So it's the best of both worlds. And like I said, for that reason, I really think Sony knocked it out. So now let me get back to the comments to see if we have some questions about what I was just talking. Okay, so I think I'm getting close. Yeah, because I read Kim says, yes, let's talk about cameras. I'm tired of crying. We're past that, Kim, right? But thank you. Thank you as always. Hey, Raymond's in the house, man. How you doing, bro? Thanks for stopping by. Says Kombucha, I created for what with my fiance. Also love talking and listening to tech stuff. Also, who cannot love being a part of a community like this? The mindset, the support is unreal. Absolutely. Absolutely. It says 720. I think we're talking about the output of the USB-C. Kombucha, this dude made my night. I'm going to give him 10 minutes, but I got a curfew with the wife. Hey, sir, I don't know if you're still here. I don't know if my rant went past 10 minutes, but as like I said before, much love, sir. I appreciate you so much. That's a plus. My friend, most are a 536p. That's an upgrade. And I guess you're saying from the webcams. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Even like Elgato just came out with a new webcam. It says it does 1080 or maybe even 4K. There's the like Logitech Brio that does 4K. But there is a huge difference between the glass that you put in front of the sensor. So it really, the sensor size does add a lot to it, but glass before ass is like the optics are 100% different than any, are more important than any camera body or being any sensor. So to get the most out of an image, it all has to do with the sensor. And I will tell you, I will take a 720 off of an APS-C sensor and the image quality that I'll get that through USB than any webcam, even if it says it does 1080 or even 4K. Because like I'm not gonna get too technical. I've been doing some research on what exactly a megapixel is and how these sensors actually read them out. So with my computer knowledge and a lot of research, I'm going to be putting together my little, like a synopsis of what an actual megapixel is, because a megapixel on a sensor is to say like it has 21 megapixels or 21 million pixels does not mean that it has 21 million photo sites collecting light. Quite the opposite. So it goes to show you how many times the amount of light receiving sensors or diodes that are on the sensor are actually receiving light, judging it, metering it, and accepting the colors and rendering that information in fractions of a second. And all of that needs to be done and processed and sent to a memory card in a fraction of a second. So if you're taking a photograph that's 1/8,000th of a second, all the processes that I just talked about for a 42 megapixel camera, a 61 megapixel camera, all 61 million pixels that need to be rendered off of that image are all being processed in 1/8,000th of a second and then sent to your memory card. Think about that. That's how incredibly complex these machines are. And that's why I stay amazed by them. And I also try to keep it like, I try to like reel it in on what can possibly be done, because we are reaching the point where pretty soon our limitation of how much information, how many shots that we can get out of these devices is going to have to do with the speed of light or electricity itself and how fast it can render these informations through these machines. Hopefully I still got some of you guys with me. I didn't lose you. Sony ZV-E10 is not a camera I wouldn't touch, but I can definitely see having mass appeal with a new age creator, e.g. streamers, TikTokers, IG reelers. I really see more the live streaming community. So many people are going to buy the cheapest, best autofocusing camera, not to run around, but just to sit on a tripod. Boom, right there. And then anyone else who actually wants to vlog with it is going to have all the options with gyro stabilization, optically stabilized lenses, you name it. It's all going to be available to them. He says it's USB 2.0. You can't send enough data. Is that what it's using? It says no camera sends 1080p through USB. Well, it does send it. It just sends, like when I connect it on mine, it doesn't send it at 24 frames a second. It'll send it like at, honestly, like 10 frames a second. Super choppy. It looks like 480p from back in the day. I think this camera is aimed to disrupt that new camera user and convert some people into using a phone. I actually don't think so. I think it's going to convert all of the people who would just only buy a point and shoot camera and convert them to interchangeable lens cameras. I think once they open up people's minds to the possibilities of an interchangeable lens system and the fact that they can buy a good piece of glass for their inexpensive camera, but then fall in love with a more expensive camera and all they have to do is buy the camera. It's what Canon has been doing for years. They've said it themselves, like, we don't sell cameras, we're a lens company. So they sell you the lens and make the cameras to go with them. I think Sony took that into mind and started making all these G Master lenses, and that's why that coupled with their with their leading autofocus makes all the difference. It says, wow, there you go, just as you hold up your phone. Sammy says true. It says great LCD screen point. Yeah, because that's how they're used to using it. They're used to looking at the back. Me, let me see if I got one around here. I might have put them away. Oh, here. Take a look. A Yashica old school film camera. You had to use the viewfinder. There wasn't anything else. But as a photographer, I also prefer viewfinders because it removes the rest of the world in the shot. It removes all other distractions of what could be catching your peripheral and not allowing you to focus. So for me, that's why I shoot Sony, because it, I don't have to worry about getting the eye in focus when I'm shooting portraits. And because I don't have to worry about that, it allows me to be more creative in my compositions and allows me to actually look over my shot in the viewfinder before I snap the picture. And I've learned that with more photos that I take, the less photos I take. Because as you're learning, you're taking all of these photos. I've done photo shoots where I put it on, like continuous, speed, so that it's shooting a lot of frames so that I don't miss that like micro moment to get the perfect shot. And it works, except you end up with so much work in post-production because you have to cull through 1,500 images, which takes so much time so that you can see slight differences between one shot to the other. Where through my experience, the more that I'm able to cull the shot or, make sure that everything that I want to be in the shot is in the shot and allow my creativity to shine, I take less shots because I'm putting more emphasis in every detail that I need to pay attention to before I click the shutter, instead of just snapping away and just like pray and spray, right? Spray and pray. Either way, just way too many photos. And with less photos, it has allowed me to increase my production because I spent so much less time in post-production. It says the price is pretty great on that camera. It really makes things accessible. Yeah. And like I said, if you're starting out where you know, let's say you buy a $750 A6100. Let's say you get that to start because that's a starter camera. Then you're going to add a lens. That's another $850. You're going to add an Elgato Cam Link video capture card. That's another $100. You're going to add cabling for that. You're going to add a dummy battery. You're going to be adding a lot of things that this camera is already going to have built in right from the get. So the fact that you're going to be saving money on so many little aspects and saving headache, because it's not like you're going to get into it and not be able to use your camera the way that you want to and just plug it into your computer, you know, whether it be Mac or Windows. I think like that ease of use, that it's going to be so easy. You know, I still haven't confirmed it either, but if it's also as easy that when you open up the, you know, the LCD, that the camera turns on automatically like the ZV-1 did, all of these functionality, time-saving features make all the difference. I think the features for the price is what sold me to jump into the Sony world. You're going to be so happy because it's also going to have the latest version of Sony's color technology, meaning your skin tones are going to be so good right off the bat. That's also what most people have said about the ZV-1 and this new ZV-E10, that what people used to talk about, that Canon colors and so on, like that's all out the window right now, and that there's no issue with the colors that you're getting from Sony cameras. There's slight differences, yes, but no problems with it. So the fact that your standard setting is going to get you the colors that you want, and that is going to be extremely easy to use, and in my opinion, still the best autofocus available right now. And that's my opinion, but I still think so. Like, you know, from what I've been able to research as well, I think Canon has better animal eye autofocus for like birds. Do you shoot birds? No, I don't either. So that's not a use case that I'd be using. And for me, if that were to be the one thing that Canon has above Sony, great. But for every other use case, I still think Sony is top of the game. And if they're not, they're still right there. Most people are trying to catch up to what Sony's doing. And so for that, with the that's such an amazing price. I literally thought this camera was going to be $800, and I still think that it was going to sell pretty well because of what it has at $800. It being $700, forget it. $800 with the kit, that thing's going to sell like hotcakes. This camera has the same processor since the A6100, but new flippy screen with a new mic and a headphone jack is great, but for $800, it's amazing. Actually, it's not the same processor as the A6100. It has the same processor as the A6600. There's slight differences. You know, it's basically the same core, but it's almost like saying, you know, like a difference between a 2.4 gigahertz, you know, Intel processor to a 3.4 gigahertz processor. It has to do with the actual processing speed and the bus that the processor has. Slight differences, but the 6600 had the more updated one, being that it was the latest version of it, and that's also the one that was implemented into the ZV-1. That's why I remember, because they were like, it's not the exact same one, very similar, but the highest graded one that we have in the A66 is the one that they put in the ZV-1. I believe they needed that higher speed of processing to process that 240 and the 960 frames per second in the slow motion. So there is a slight difference in it, But still, even if it was the same one as the 6100, my 6100 gives me such great battery life. I have no complaints. And it uses the old NPF W50 batteries. Sammy says, yes, that's right. 700 is not worth 7,000. Yeah, I agree. I just told someone who was about to get the A6100 that the new ZV has some of that twang of the A7C, flippy screen, headphone jack, etc. Yep. The one bad thing about the ZV-E10 is the actual release date. It says it's gonna be available in August, but I really don't think that on the 24th, I think that's what they said, that it's going to be shipping out. I think that's when it's gonna be available, and the first batch will be shipped out. So if you already pre-ordered and stuff like that, yeah. But with the chip shortage and the way things are going, and I believe Sony still has a camera to release this year by what they said at the beginning of the year, it might be a little tough to get 2 batches of these ZV-E10s out. And also the first batch is going to go to a lot of the rental houses. So Lens Rentals, KEH, a lot of places like that are already the ones that are going to get a majority of these cameras so that they can put them to work as well. He says, yep, the newer processor, but the 960 frames a second is kind of unusable. Yeah, but I could tell you that if they would have been able to produce that on the ZV-E10, I think it would have been more usable, being that you can get more light with a super fast prime that will be able to give you an adequately clean image still running at such high frame rates. Because 960 frames per second, yeah, you're still going to be shooting around 1,000 frames a second on the shutter just to keep up with it. You're not going to double that because that would be like ridiculous. But yeah, even with the ZV-1, I believe you got like 1 second of slow motion at 960 frames a second. But it was stuff that you can get like some really like incredible slow motion, like of rain, different shots that you can get if you can set them up correctly. So personally, I would buy it as a studio camera because it's inexpensive and it's a camera that will never move. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. For like these Twitch streamers, they're just gonna set it and forget it, plug it in, not even worry about it, and that they can trust the autofocus. Yeah, and $700. That's about the price of the point and shoots. You know, when you're starting to look into the Canon, so it's hitting that price point. Man, I don't see the negative that would draw people away from the camera. And I think that's why I think it's just gonna sell, because if you can't find like a flaw, like, oh, it doesn't have this so I can't use it, or it doesn't have that, I can't do this with it, then maybe. But because it's got so much, and it can do whatever you want it to do, except, you know, use a viewfinder. But besides that, if that's not what you're using for and it's more video centric, this thing is gonna sell like pan caliente. That says like fresh bread. Filmtopia, your setup would be great with multiple cameras. Says, I got one coming for me in white, and I'm sure my wife's gonna. Let's be clear. You bought that for her. Just wait till she sees it. Hey, Rob is in the house, man. How you doing, Rob? Wish they would have added a mode dial. That's one reason why I returned the ZV-1, amongst other reasons. Yeah, I really don't know. It has a dial on there. I know it's not a mode dial, but I'm guessing that that's just part of the adjustments, because they wanted to give you more control in manual mode. That's just what I'm guessing, because let me bring out my older NEX6. No. Sony cameras have this little wheel here. Oh, let's get it in focus. And that wheel usually will allow you to control the aperture, and then whichever different one you want to do, like let's do your shutter speed or whatever, you can constantly switch between those two dials, and I think that's what it's there for. But excuse me, I just need to make sure that it has all the modes. You know that it still has aperture priority, shutter priority, even if that you select it via the switch. Or maybe the FN, maybe the function menu. Because that's the same way that these work. And the other bad thing, which is not really bad for me, but that some people would say like, oh, how could they, is that they kept the older menus on there. So the older menus I don't have a problem with, but a lot of people think that they should have put the new menus in there. But then I think that would have been a problem with selling that camera. Like that camera would have sold over the A7S III. And I think that also has to do with the processors that are in it. I don't think that the one that they're using, the one from the 6600, can handle the new operating system. It says she hasn't summoned me, so I'm still here. Hey Gary, how you doing, man? Just dropping knowledge. Thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate you, sir. It says if your light is right at 720, it's a major upgrade over so many other setups and webcams. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. It's like a 720p webcam is an upgrade from standard webcams. A 720p interchangeable lens APS-C webcam, unheard of. Unheard of. Says yes. LOL. I love that. Yep. If you look into a small sensor with more megapixels, actually can degrade the picture in dynamic range with more or less megapixels. It's a true story. Absolutely. And one of these things that really started blowing my mind was when you started seeing Samsung phones with tiny sensors giving you 103 megapixels. What is a megapixel? Right? It definitely has nothing to do with the photo site that's actually capturing the light on the sensor. No, it's how many times your processor, your camera can read light and understand the image that's in front of it sequential times, millions and millions of times in a fraction of a second. That's how fast these things are moving. I start thinking about these things. It's a bit scary. Says Tom Buck, you think you can camera angle beatbox on that Gerald London video so magnificently? And I wasn't going to do anything about that. Hence, Filmtopia multiple camera angles is in hot soon. Coming in hot soon. Okay, cool, man. Oh, man, this is going to be great. Curious to see if the IBIS on this camera is as bad as the ZV-1. I hope it's better around the same time. Well, Rob, neither of these cameras have IBIS. That means internal body image stabilization, being motors, magnetic gyros, and stuff like that to keep the sensor. That's not built into that. That's in the A6600. The ZV-1 and this new ZV-E10 have active stabilization, which is completely digital. It's a small crop in, and with that crop, what it allows is for the image to kind of float within the parameters. It's just kind of like a safety zone, and that crop is the safety zone that will allow the image to stay true even though you're hand holding it. But I wouldn't recommend that unless you want to see a super steady image while you're recording. Now, if you're actually vlogging, right, and you have a camera like this and you have it in front of you and you're moving it, right, I personally don't think that you should worry about how shaky the camera is. Just as long as you're in frame and take all the stabilization off. Because if you were to record with stabilization off, what it actually does is that it records the gyro stabilization, which will allow you to stabilize the footage in post. And the Sony Catalyst browse and the gyro stabilization is far beyond better than the active stabilization that you have built in. Plus, it doesn't have any crop to it. So if you want to use this as a vlogging camera and you want the widest image possible with the best stabilization, it's also going to be the ZV-E1 with no stabilization built in, using the gyro data and stabilizing it through Catalyst browse on the back end. Okay, I need to hydrate. Okay. Says Rob, I don't think either have the IBIS's digital stabilization. Yeah. Well, see, that's how big these messages are, that I was able to read Rob's comment and didn't even see Kevin's right underneath. Thanks for answering that, bro. Is the same steady shot as the ZV-1. Same. It's digital stabilization. Yep. Exact. Coffee Talking Tech. Hi, Randy. Welcome. Kevin saying hi to Randy. Kevin, I can tell you love cameras too. Absolutely. We're camera junkies here. We love talking this stuff. Like, I love the technology. That's why, you know, I love breaking down the ins and outs. And that's what got me totally hooked back onto photography, because when I did photography in school and kind of like when I left it, it was around the turn of the century. Digital cameras were not like a legit thing. They were all like what we would call Mickey Mouse. Like, yeah, that's not really like a film camera. And you can tell in the quality when you weren't even dealing with megapixels. You were just dealing with some pixels, right? Now that we move past that and we know that the digital has far surpassed the amount of information that we can get from film, we're talking about a completely different thing. And when I got back into photography, I just binged about 18, 19 years of electrical engineering information about cameras, on how they work. Like, I can sit here and fix electronics. I can fix the ins and outs of the camera bodies. But what leaves me in awe still till today is optics. Lenses, you know, they're being moved around by electronics, but the optics themselves, that's like magic to me. It just is, because the way that they can take so many different pieces of glass, shape them, manipulate them, use them in different, you know, I don't know how to say this word. Well, with different like amounts of magnification, some with more, some with less, some with wide angles, and all put into a perfect setup within a lens to get you incredible imagery that this massively incredible sensor and machine can record. I stay in awe with the magic of a camera, especially a digital one. The A6400 and up color has improved a ton with the updates. Yes, touchscreen becomes real, and the menu systems upgrade Sony will crush everyone if they were to do that. But the same things that I mentioned before is what I actually think Sony has the ability to upgrade these cameras, because I heard someone this week talking about that I don't see them really having a way up from the 6600 and where they go with the, you know, with the APS-C line. I'm saying it here first. Don't be surprised if you end up seeing a stacked sensor APS-C that's going to give you some really incredible frame rates, really incredible slow motion, something. You might even get something less megapixels than the 24, but with higher sensor readout to achieve those types of frame rates. It says, haha, the love for cameras only continues to grow and it could be dangerous. Yes. That's why I also say here, upgrade your skills before your gear, because if you understand the cameras before you go buy them, you're not going to get all caught up with the latest hype of FOMO. You will know what it is that you need to upgrade and if this camera could really cater to you or not. The ZV-1 is not the same as the ZV-10 is the same. I'm not sure what you meant by that, but we'll move on. Does anyone else find it odd that they did not use the battery for the A6600? There was likely a lot of batteries out there for people who had older Sony cameras. I have so many batteries for the 6000. Well, the same 6000 battery is the one that you can use for this one. My thoughts on what you just said right there is that let's look at what people, not what people were talking about the A6000 series. Let's see what people were complaining about the ZV-1. So the major complaints of the Sony ZV-1 was that it wasn't wide enough. So they wanted like 16 millimeter equivalent lens, and that the battery life sucked because it used these thin little batteries and people were carrying 4 or 5 of them in their pockets. So now you take the ZV-1 and let's fix the two main issues that people have with this camera. Let's give it a bigger battery life. Okay, we're not going to give it our Z battery because that would just make this camera run indefinitely and will have so much power for days that we use for our full frames. Also, it's going to make it a lot thicker and heavier, which we're trying to reduce in weight. So we'll add our NPFW50 batteries, which will increase the battery life even up to 80 minutes per recording on one battery charge video. And now we don't have the complaint that the battery is too small for the ZV-1. Okay, it's not wide enough. Okay, let's take off this fixed lens that's stuck at 24 millimeters and let's throw on the E-mount, which will allow us to sell even more lenses in that world, bring them into the ecosystem. So if they want to upgrade from this, they only have the 64, the 66, and maybe even full frame cameras in the future. And if they're complaining about the wide, now they can use the 10 millimeter 10 to 18, which gives them a 15 millimeter or 16 millimeter equivalent using the active stabilization. And now we have like effectively fixed the two main problems of the ZV-1, the ZV-E10. So if you look at it like that and not compare it to the 64, the 66, yeah, there was no reason for them to put the Z battery on there. And when I had even heard of the rumors, I was like, yeah, I don't see them putting in their flagship battery and cannibalizing other cameras in their own series for a camera that was going to be $900. And they even brought it down to $700. So that's why I don't think that they would have used the the Z-type battery, because the Z-type battery on this little camera, one battery would run you like a full day, which Sony still wants you to buy batteries. That's how they make money. Just being real, you know. Some products are coming in now. 6800 XT is the best buy now, but the price is outrageous. See? The 6800 XT? Is that... What camera is that? Because the XT is Fuji. Let me know. It says, guess I'll be buying more batteries. You actually probably won't, because if you had the 6100, I honestly think that people are going to be surprised. And, you know, I'll come back on here and say I was completely wrong about the battery life. But I really think, and this is going from my experience on using the A6100, which isn't going to have as good battery life as this camera will. I carry 2 batteries for my A6100 at most. The one in the camera and one extra in my pocket. I haven't had the need for anything else. So if you just need to carry one extra battery, yeah, I really think that Sony did a great job. Rob, I agree with you about the bigger battery. Excuse me. It says, I feel like it uses a smaller battery because of the size of the E10 body is tiny. Yeah. And the thing is that the grip is equivalent to the body size. That if they would have put the bigger battery, the grip would have gotten so much bigger that it sounds funny, but it's almost like it would have been just as long wide as it was tall. Like that the grip would have been so long that it would have been almost as long as it is wide. USB-C charging while streaming or not. My Nikon cameras can't do that. They have been off. New Nikon ZF-C can do this. I got a dummy batteries for the Z6, Z5, and the A6100. See that? I'm not even going to repeat that, Peter. But, sir, thank you for stopping by. Always a pleasure to have you here. Kevin saying hi to Peter. Filmtopia is laughing at the combos. Aaron said he pre-ordered. How you doing, Aaron? Welcome, sir. This is for Aaron. It's been a while, bro. It says, will I regret it? I really don't think so. I really don't think so, like I said. It's a PG kind of night, I guess. It says, yes, Aaron. When? Then when don't you? It will be a great day. Okay, so. Yes, Aaron says, Aaron, awesome live stream. I did not have the ability to see it, but I did see that you were live streaming, Aaron. That was cool. Okay, so active stabilization on the ZV-1 was junk. Even tried with it off and put it into Catalyst, and it was terrible for me. Oh, well, that sucks. Well, you see, I haven't purchased it. I haven't pre-ordered it or anything like that. There's content creators that I'm in contact with, Doc Rock, Diana Gladney, and even Kevin. We're going to get some information as soon as these people get it in their hands to see exactly what it can and can't do. But I really think it might be better just because of also the sensor size, you know. Let's hope that it actually is better because it has more to crop into, so it gives it more space for stabilization. But could be completely wrong. I keep buying these ZV cameras, and I could have just bought a second A7 and III in the end. Says, thanks, buddy. It was fun, and I've had a long day. Thanks for stopping by, Aaron. Always a pleasure to have you here. Rob says, Final Cut did way better job on stabilization, believe it or not. I do believe it. I had an older version of Final Cut Pro. I updated to the latest version, and I actually just tried to use the stabilization that I normally didn't use because of the older version, and I just threw it on a clip, and I was so surprised. I was like, oh, they really upgraded that like algorithm for the stabilization in Final Cut Pro, and it really does a really good job. FOMO is real. Tom says, time for me to head out. Have an awesome night, everyone. Thanks for stopping by, man. Yeah, it's almost time for me to head out as well. Okay, so it says, night, Tom. At Aaron Short. Hi, Aaron. Finally caught your stream. I was thinking of getting me another Z6 II and call it a day. No overheating and no timeout after 30 minutes. Hey, you know, the videos that I saw from you, Randall, they look good. They look really good. They're nice and crisp, and the images are super sharp. So, you know, whichever cameras you are using, you're doing a great job. Okay, so Kevin's saying bye to Tom. Man, I have so many A6600 batteries, hence I'm so SOL. Okay, then yeah. But the thing is, Rob, if you have an A6600, this is not the camera for you. It just isn't. You have so much more in your camera. Yeah, plus the internal body stabilization, which is why they needed to add that extra battery, because it's going to take more juice with that stabilization. That stabilization, most likely for you, is going to be better than the digital, you know, and whatever you couldn't get from the native IBIS on the camera, like you just said, you're going to fix it and post through Final Cut Pro. So to me, there's no reason whatsoever for you to go into the ZV-E10 for any reason whatsoever. The A6600 is a beast of a camera, and the fact that it does have that battery, I still think exceeds the battery life of the ZV-E10. So, and if not, I know that there's definitely some settings that you can just turn off, some things within the operating system of that camera that will actually help you increase your battery life. Okay. It says, thanks, Randall. That's what I'm thinking. One firmware upgrade can give us fully usable touchscreen? I don't know. Because I know that the touchscreen is there, but I don't think that the A6600 even has like that full capability of touchscreen. And I think that has to do with the processor. No, if I remember correctly, it has to do with the processor. And I just don't think the processor, let it be that they are putting a cheaper type of processor in these cameras. It's doing a great job for what it's doing, but I don't think it's gonna be able to give the full functionality of the touchscreen, which is the same reason why they don't put the latest firmware updates on them, or like the new menu style. I don't think that the processors can handle that new menu style, and if it were to be applied, it's so much information that it will slow down and make these cameras a lot worse functionally. Wasn't the appeal of the ZV-1 that it was easy and compact? By adding removable lenses and bigger batteries, isn't it becoming just an average DSLR, and that's compelling with all of the other $1,000 cameras? Yes. Like, not DSLR, but mirrorless cameras and things like that. But I agree, and that's why I think Sony made this camera. Because Sony's frame of thinking is like, okay, we're going to make it light, we're going to make it easy to put in the pocket so that people can vlog with it. And then when people were like, it's not wide enough, and even though they bought that one, they put it in a bag with a big piece of glass in front of it, making it a lot thicker, taking all of the pocketability function right out of it. They were like, for that, we just throw an E-mount lens on it. And that's what they did. Oh, they're complaining about the battery life? Okay, let's just throw the little bit bigger battery, which is actually going to more than double the capacity of the battery that was there. Boom. Now they fixed both of those problems without having to jump to a full, like a full replacement of the 6100 or something like that. Says one firmware upgrade can give us a lot of features for a lot of products, but I've learned not to hold my breath. It's easier said than done, and not just being real, because this is the way that I like to, try to break it down for people. Facebook right now is not the same Facebook that it was 5 years ago. So if you take a computer, just a regular computer from 5 years ago, and you try to run today's Facebook webpage on it, you're going to have some difficulties because of all the new coding. Right now, a web page from Facebook, that program has blown up to do so many things that for you to download it and like utilize it on your computer, it's a lot of data. It's a lot of data. So now, when you try to put an older processor to run all of this new data, it might be able to do it, but it's going to do it like a hunk of junk. And that's something that Sony, I'm just telling you as a business, Sony will sit here all day and say, you can complain about the menu systems being too complicated. You can complain about them being antiquated and that they're so difficult. You can complain about so many things, but the one thing that you will not complain about is that they are slow and that it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And if you start putting newer type of software on older processors that were never even designed for that type of code, in no matter what type of electronic, you're going to have a latency built in because it has to think twice as hard on this new code. And that will put these cameras in such a state that you won't want to use them. And that's something that Sony would not risk for anything. They would rather you complain about the menus and still use their cameras than not complain about the menus and complain about the camera being slow and you not use it. It's the same spectrum, even though it's completely different. And as a business, I totally understand why Sony is not going to drop an update that's going to shoot themselves in the foot, because people assume that their cameras can handle something that they weren't designed to do. They're not Canon. Oh! Only Canon will give you a camera and let it overheat. Listen, I'm so impressed with the image of the ZV-1 with the 1-inch sensor, and it's fantastic. So yes, I bought the Ulanzi lens too. Yeah, And that's the other thing. I've heard that as well from all the ZV-1 owners, that the image quality was not what they complained about. They loved the camera. They wish they can use it longer because the battery was too low. And like you, I don't care. It's such a good quality. I'll throw the Ulanzi and get my wide angle anyways. So they just said, you know what? Let's give people what they want and let's build a camera that does all of these things but benefits us as a company. You know, they wanted to keep the money. They didn't want to make a camera so that Ulanzi could benefit from it. You know, I guess I'm just being real, and that's how it is. You know, like they're like, okay, we make a camera because we think that this is what they want. This is what they ask us for. And then on that aspect, Sony would just straight up and say, hey, Ulanzi, you take all of our profits because we designed a camera with a bit of a flaw that we didn't know, and now you get to benefit from it. As a company, I just don't see that happening. Oh, I got a thumbs down. I guess somebody didn't like my Canon comment. I love my ZV-1 for portability. Most of the time I've used in quickly changing conditions, so I throw it in intelligent auto, and it's amazing for the quality of image and portability. See, this is not like we're only agreeing on all these things. Certainly not an interchangeable lens camera, but I don't feel that the use case for it either. Exactly. The A6600 is weather sealed too. Yeah, the A6600 is an incredible camera. Like, it is. Because it is a flagship. No matter what, you can get a weather sealed G lens, throw it on there, and you can take that camera pretty much anywhere and have it do everything that you want it to do. All right, so we got thanks. How do you color match your cameras? My ZV-1 is so different from my ZV-3. That's another reason why I like to have two A7 IIIs. Okay, well, that's cool. We're getting close to the end, and I'm going to be closing out pretty soon. But let me see if I can do something here. I think it was Command-Shift-Enter. Nope, that did not work. Okay, I was going to try to show you guys kind of like behind the scenes, but with Ecamm, because I know you use Ecamm too, right, Aaron? I believe so. You can take the cameras, and there's a little feature here, like the little magic wand that gives you the camera effects. So what I did in my setup is that I have two different cameras, right? And you've been seeing them switch off. There's this one scene that I have where it actually has both cameras split screen right next to each other. And when I'm like physically looking at both images, I'm able to configure the colors on both to match them as best as possible. Now this one, it was a little bit harder to match. This one is more of the colors that are straight out of camera, which is my A6100. So most of my color grading was making the my A7R2 camera here, my second angle, to kind of match my A6100. But I did it all in Ecamm. If I were to not be using Ecamm, you would notice a much bigger difference when it comes to the colors of the cameras themselves, straight out of camera. A lot of it, well, all of it's really being done through Ecamm. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I could throw that. Do I have that? Let me see here. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you see, this is the same thing. Even though the right side is a little bit darker, but I think that just has to do with ISO. Oh, I'm not able to change it. I must have did something incorrect here. But right here, using this is what I did to color grade. And right now what I'm looking at is that this is way off. Way off, so I'm gonna have to do it again. I know I messed something up. We'll fix it. But that's basically what I do. I throw that on there and I try to match the cameras as best as possible. The easiest thing for me, which is actually what I'm thinking about doing, is actually purchasing another one of these lenses. This is the 16mm f1.4. I'm thinking about getting another one just like it and throwing it on here so that I have the same image and the same color quality coming in, which will allow me to match the colors so much better. because glass is more important than the camera body. Says Kevin, exactly what I use my ZV-1 for, and it's my third camera. Says Rob, no full touchscreen on the A6600. No, it's only for the video. You know, it's not full touchscreen. Like I said, it don't think that processor is going to be able to hold it. Okay. Hi Nate. I've never seen you here before. Thanks for stopping by. Really don't understand, but if you have a question, we'll be happy to answer that for you. Says maybe a mod can take care of that. Like, I don't worry about that, Kevin. Oh, he says Command Shift D. I did that, but it gave me a beep. So maybe I haven't really said it, but like I said, I'm not too worried about it. I'll probably work that into next week about the color grading. Says love your setup that showed that you showed from last week. Yeah, well, it's the same thing. Also, as a business, like you said, they want you to buy new cameras instead of give you in the firmware. Yeah. But I also think about those things because I guess in my I guess I think differently about those things when it comes to the performance of computers, because my day job I deal with the computer. So I've been dealing with these types of instances for so many years. You know, when people are saying like, why isn't my computer running fast? I'm like, because it's 10 years old and you've gotten the most out of it. Like you're trying to run Windows 11 on a Windows 7 machine. Like we don't even keep updates for Windows 8. You know, it's Windows 10 and above. Like Windows 8 isn't, Windows 7 is so outdated, and you're trying to get like an old processor that couldn't even imagine the types of code that are running through computers right now to do all that type of processing. It says Command Shift D and it gets you into demo mode, shows behind the scenes of eCam. I'm going to try it one more time. Let me see. Command Shift D. Okay, yes. All right, so I think you guys are seeing what I'm seeing here. So let me go back. I'm going to go to my dual camera setup, as you can see here. And what you're able to do is you're able to hit this little wand here. And this gives you the ability to adjust the colors. You see, like your tint, and you can do it right in real time. So you just start working out these colors to better match. See what you're getting here. It looks like my gamma. Can kick it a little bit to try to match the colors, but I could probably bring down the brightness here. Match it a little bit, but that's simply what you would do. And how I use both cameras, I try to do the best to match them. Once I'm done, I'll just go back to here, click that off, and that's it. And this is what I see when I'm doing my live streams. You see how big the messages are? I can be reading this message and have no idea what's right underneath it. All right, so let's do Command Shift D. And let's see if I'm still on there. Okay, so yeah, now I'm just back on the second camera. Okay, boom, boom, and let's change this back up to. There we go. Good. Okay, so Aaron says, cool. Do it in eCam for the ISO and unlock the camera in the program and then lock it again. Okay, so, but we got the behind the scenes, so we're good. Says, so we don't need to buy two of the same cameras. No, you can buy two completely different cameras and you'll be able to work them out pretty well. But Aaron, you know that. I think that's what Peter has always been doing it. When Peter was always talking about, I have all these cameras and I'm changing all the colors. I believe all the color manipulation that Peter has ever done has always been in eCam, because that's the image that we see. I don't think Peter really got into the like changing the white balance Maybe he just left them all exactly the same, but not like that he made differences to incrementally see the color changes through profiles on each individual camera. I think he kind of left them in standard and then just adjusted them through eCam. We'll ask him. Okay, so Kevin says, Aaron, music, sometimes if you have different capture cards or are using USB, it can change the hue saturation too, even if you have the same camera. That is true as well. That's a good point, Kevin. Gotta head out. Love talking cameras. Great night, people. Yep. I'm going to be heading out as well. Yep. I think we're at the bottom here. It says, good night, Coffee Talk and Tech. Hope to see you around again. And Aaron says, good to know. But I think that is it for tonight. I've had an extremely exciting week. On top of that, on top of everything, thank you guys for hanging out with me as always. I still think that I'm gonna be on a call with Doc Rock right now. He's in Hawaii, so he's still got plenty of time. It's still Saturday for him. Okay, so he's still a day behind. But yeah, so I'm just gonna call it here. I'm gonna see if I can get in a quick Zoom call with Doc so that we can go over what we're gonna be doing for the next week. And yeah, I appreciate every single one of you. Okay, yeah, it's already Sunday, the 1st of August, which for those of you who don't know, nobody knows actually, right? Because I've never mentioned this. It's actually my father's birthday. So tomorrow I'm going to go visit my father for his birthday. That's going to be great. So just another like cherry on top for such an incredible week. I want to thank every single one of you, as always, for spending your precious time with me, hanging out. I love every single one of you. You guys are the most amazing thing that's happened to me. And this community is something that I cherish dearly. So thank you, every single one of you who's hung out. Oh, I didn't get Sly to slide in tonight, but Sly, if you catch the replay, thank you as well. I always appreciate you. And everyone who hangs out here in my live streams, all of my Camera Junkie crew. Love you guys. So with that being said, I've been changing a couple of things up. I'm just going to go into like a simple little end screen and we're going to end it here for tonight. I ask you to take care of yourselves, take care of each other, be safe. And I can't wait to see you next week because we're going to do it all over again, 10:55 p.m. Eastern Time. And I can't wait to see all of your smiling faces here again. So thanks again. Have a great night. Until next time.